in an interview on CNN, spoke with radio host of The Source, Andrea Lawful Sanders, who at the time was employed by Philadelphia black owned talk radio station WURD, who since has resigned, who confirms that the White House sent her questions to approve ahead of her interview with President Joe Biden. So I'm going to go to the video now, and you decide if this was the right thing for management at WURD to do. And make sure the volume is correct. Okay, here we go.
Both are with me now. Earl Ingram is the host of the Earl Ingram Show. Before the president sat down with George Stephanopoulos, he spoke with two black radio hosts in the battleground states of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Both are with me now. Earl Ingram is the host of the Earl Ingram Show in Milwaukee, and Andrea Lawful Sanders is the host of The Source on WURD in Philadelphia. Welcome to you both. Congratulations on such a big week. And Earl, let me start with you. And I'm going to play here the president's answer to your question about his performance in the debate. Here's what he told you.
I had a bad night. And the fact of the matter is that, I screwed up. I made a mistake. And, but I learned from my father, when you get knocked down, just get back up. Get back up.
Did you hear the version of the president, similar to one we saw the debate, that alarmed so many Democrats? Gauge for me what your exchange was with the president.
Well, you're talking about a person, myself, who has followed the president for over 45 years. I've watched him from a very when I was a very young man, to where he is now. Clearly, not just the president, but any person over a 45-year period there's going to be some changes to who they were, as there is with me. I'm not surprised that Joe Biden is not who he was 45 years ago. I am a little surprised that the Joe Biden of today is different from the Joe Biden of 2 years ago, or even a year ago.
How so?
Well, clearly, cognitively, anybody who hears him and knows of him and who he has been will detect that there are some differences in his speech. People attribute that constantly to the fact that he has a speech impediment. He's always had a speech impediment his entire life, but people hadn't been talking about the fact that he has a speech impediment until, the last few weeks. And clearly there's something that is different about President Joe Biden.
Yeah, he says that he will not be taking or releasing a cognitive test. Andrea, let me ask you here about your interviews, and something. I listened to both of them, and there's something that's similar here. You asked 4 questions, and maybe that's what you were allowed to ask by the campaign or the White House, but they were essentially the same questions, both interviews, about accomplishments, progress in your respective state, what's at stake in the election, what he has to say about his debate performance, and what he would say to voters who think their vote doesn't matter or might sit this election out. Were those questions given to you by the White House, or the campaign, or did you have to submit questions ahead of this interview?
The questions were sent to me for approval. I approved them.
Okay, so the White House sent the questions to you ahead of the interview.
Yes.
Okay.
I got several questions, 8 of them, and the 4 that were chosen were the ones that I approved.
Okay. And the reason I ask is not a criticism of either of you. It's just that if the White House is trying now to prove the vim, vigor, acuity of the president, I don't know how they do that by sending questions first before the interview so that the president knows what's coming. Let me play here a bit of your interview. This is, and you've probably seen it's gotten a lot of attention, this is when he was asked about his accomplishments as president. Let's play it.
I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, the first black woman to serve with a black president.
Did you hear, as it's being covered, the president say that he was proud to be the first black woman president? Because that's what the headlines all over the internet is suggesting.
I find it interesting that they saw and heard that. What I got from him was that he was intimating that Kamala Harris was the first black woman vice president. And I guess with his speech impediment, they heard something else. And I find it interesting that that was the only thing that they picked out of that entire conversation and ran with it. Look, we have a hard way to go in this country. I am listening to the community that is speaking to me every single day on WURD radio. We are answering, looking at the things that are mattering to us. We can't afford to get excited and fumble about what folks are thinking about the president and his frailty and his speeches. We are concerned about the purging of the government in Project 2025. We've been talking about this on WURD since January, fully and completely, the slashing of the Department of Justice and dismantling the FBI and replacing their traditional independence from political pressure with fealty to the administration. Those are the things that matter to us in the Black community. So when I ask them, what matters most to you, that President Biden has this speech impediment or that he's slowing down versus the other person who has all these other things going on, they keep saying to me, we did it on Friday on The Source, we did it Thursday, we keep asking them, they keep saying the same thing. We want the Democrats to win because we feel like if we do anything else, it's going to be a problem for us. What I'm concerned about is that no one really seems to be in the community talking to the very people who has the vote.
Earl Ingram from Civic Media, Andrea Lawful Sanders from WRD, thank you both.
Are you over 45 and have hearing problems?
And in closing, also, like the Black pastor would say, let me say this. It's very ironic that these politicians, and especially the so-called conservatives or whatever they call themselves, I really don't care, they never talk to black people. How in the hell are you going to have black for Trumps and you all don't want to talk to us? Do you all really think that we are ghosts and that we don't matter in this country? Do you all really think that the black voting power is not real? Do you all really think that we cannot get together and organize in a fashion we could boycott anything that we choose to? The civil rights movement was not just something that happened by accident. It came because of racism. It happened because of Jim Crow. It happened because of systemic racism. It happened because black people were tired of living down in those southern racist, bigoted states and being treated less than human beings. Never forget the price that those brave men and women paid for us. Stop playing your video games. Pull your pants up on your behinds. Get some sense. Try checking our eyes on the prize, because the freedoms and the constitutional rights that we so enjoy in this nation, you put Trump back in office and the day after is going to be a nightmare. I'm Tyrone Bowman. Never surrender. Never quit.